One of the richest and smartest men in the history of this planet says that something's literally threatening civilization, we should probably not just dismiss it.
Piers Morgan is a striking figure in the world of British journalism, known for his uncompromising style and ability to bring up the most pressing and important topics. This time, his anger fell on Keir Starmer, the leader of the UK Labour Party, to whom he left no stone unturned. Morgan accused Starmer of deliberately avoiding difficult questions and ignoring really critical issues, which caused him a storm of disappointment. His outrage reached a peak when he noticed glaring contradictions between Starmer's actions and the values that the Labour Party claims should be the basis of its policy. Let's delve into exactly what Piers said about Starmer, why it bothered him so much, and what serious consequences it could have for the political scene.
So far this year, I've interviewed the Prime Ministers of Britain, Israel, Australia. I went to the Ukraine to interview President Zelensky, interviewed former US President Donald Trump. I've interviewed other US presidential candidates for 2024. The one person I've not interviewed is Sir Keir Starmer.
Piers Morgan couldn't contain his outrage and harshly criticized Keir Starmer's recent lifestyle. He furiously argues that such a lifestyle not only contradicts the image of the Labour Party, but also deeply undermines the values that it is supposed to protect. The Labour Party is one of the two main political forces in the United Kingdom, along with the Conservative Party. Founded in the early 20th century, it grew out of labour movements and trade unions that fought for working-class rights and social welfare. Therefore, the news that Starmer accepts generous gifts and lives in luxury caused a real storm of discontent among his colleagues. Imagine this: while millions of people are struggling to make ends meet amid rising living costs, the leader of a party that supposedly stands up for the interests of workers is enjoying extravagant gifts, such as designer clothes and expensive glasses. It sounds absolutely absurd, doesn't it? But what exactly infuriated Piers so much? He was shocked to learn that Starmer was renting an apartment for a whopping £2,000 a month for his son while he was studying. Morgan sarcastically noted that this amount is not available to many British families who are struggling to pay rent and energy bills. Amazing, isn't it? Starmer, in turn, justified that he wanted to create comfortable conditions for his son to study, because on the eve of the elections their house was under constant attention of reporters. But does that justify his actions?
What are they scared of? The Labour Party is based 2.8 miles away from his studio. Its front benchers have an open invitation to come on to debate all of this stuff, as well as their plans for running the country. But so far, they've repeatedly rejected.
Starmer assures that his decision will not have a negative impact on public finances and that it is entirely aimed at providing a better education for his son. But this statement caused a real storm of criticism both against him and against other party members who accept generous gifts from donors. Piers Morgan furiously points out that such behavior only highlights the level of privilege that the vast majority of British families can barely cope with. While millions of people are struggling to survive amid rising rents and utility costs, such spending on children's education looks simply outrageous and completely inappropriate. But that's not all. Let's talk about taxes. Earlier, Starmer hinted at the possibility of raising taxes to finance social programs, and this is causing new controversy. The introduction of 20% VAT on tuition fees in private schools can bring in a whopping $1.5 billion a year. And this is not the limit. Eliminating loopholes in tax legislation for individuals who do not have permanent residence in the UK can attract up to $5.2 billion. This policy is aimed at ensuring that the rich people of the UK finally begin to make a fair contribution to the state budget. And as if that's not enough, there are plans to raise taxes on income from deferred interest on private investments in accordance with the highest income tax rate, which could potentially bring in another $500 million per year. The situation is becoming more and more tense, and issues of fairness in the tax system require immediate attention.
After 13 years of Tory rule with 3 Prime Ministers in one chaotic year recently, his path to power is clear. But he still has to prove he knows what matters to the British people. And today, I believe he made a massive miscalculation. He's reportedly briefed his top team to avoid talking about social issues, woke issues, because apparently the public doesn't care.
Extending the validity period and raising the rates of some environmental and social taxes promised to bring in a whopping $1.2 billion per year. Starmer and his team are proud to declare their commitment to transparency in financial decisions, in stark contrast to previous criticism of unrealistic tax and budget plans proposed by previous governments. But here's the question that torments Piers Morgan, who actually benefits from such a policy. He sincerely doubts that the proposed tax increase will really benefit ordinary citizens. Rather, these are just political maneuvers aimed at gaining public trust, without any real solutions. Piers does not hide his deep disappointment, believing that Starmer uses vague rhetoric and avoids discussing pressing issues that concern society. Moreover, he reportedly instructed his team to avoid discussing social issues such as the equality movement, claiming that the public was not interested in it. Piers strongly refutes this people really care about these issues, and ignoring them means neglecting the voice of the people. It is worth noting that Piers Morgan, despite the many controversies and disagreements throughout his career in the media, has never been afraid to ask sharp questions to political leaders. Interviewing world figures such as Ukrainian President Vladimir Zelensky and influential figures from Israel, Piers always strives for deep and meaningful conversations, not superficial conversations. That is why Starmer's constant avoidance of communication with him causes Piers a storm of disappointment. If you want to become the leader of the country, you need to stop avoiding interviews, he insists. Despite numerous public invitations, Starmer invariably refuses the opportunity to be interviewed by Piers, which only reinforces suspicions about why he does not want to face difficult questions. This creates the feeling that he is afraid of open dialogue and real discussions, which are so necessary in our society.
One of the richest and smartest men in the history of this planet says that something's literally threatening civilization, we should probably not just dismiss it. It's very easy to dismiss this stuff as culture wars, diversionary tactics used by politicians, so we get mad about society instead of their mismanagement.
By avoiding the opportunity to openly discuss important issues, Starmer does not seem ready to be transparent, which causes the public to doubt his ability to effectively interact with people. Criticism of him comes not only from Piers Morgan, but also from such famous personalities as Jeremy Clarkson, Elon Musk, and even Donald Trump. Trump harshly criticized Starmer for his policies and leadership style. Starmer's decision to rent an expensive apartment for his son amid the crisis of the living wage and uncertain tax policy further distances him from the reality that ordinary people face. Piers Morgan expresses serious concerns about Starmer's leadership qualities, from his lavish lifestyle to the fact that he avoids candid interviews. Piers and other critics fear that if Starmer cannot handle the pressure of difficult issues now, it will be extremely difficult for him to solve more serious problems if he becomes Prime Minister. In conclusion, Piers emphasizes that Starmer's leadership style, from his detachment from reality to avoiding difficult interviews, is alarming. If he can't handle the pressure now, how will he handle the more serious challenges as Prime Minister? This is an important question that Piers and many others are waiting for an answer to. Share your thoughts about this video. See you soon.